My mother destroyed my sister's life for fame, and I had to use extreme measures to make her realize what she had done. Growing up in rural Kentucky, my mom, Linda, was the kind of person who believed the world owed her everything just for existing. She was perpetually bitter that she never got the recognition she thought she deserved in life. By the time I turned 12, my older sister Sophia and I, she was 13, had spent our entire childhood living in a double-wide trailer on the outskirts of Louisville. The year was 2015, and this was right when YouTube was exploding with family vlogs, challenge videos, and most importantly, kid influencers. My mom saw dollar signs when she watched families like the Shaytards and 8 Passengers making millions off their children's lives. The transformation happened almost overnight. One day we were normal kids playing outside and going to public school. The next day, Mom had installed Ring cameras for security throughout our home, bought professional lighting equipment with money she borrowed from her sister, and started forcing us to eat massive portions to make us more relatable to the average American family. At 12 years old, I weighed 135 pounds at 4'7", but my sister Sophia was already 13, stood 4'9", and weighed 160 pounds. Mom had always favored Sophia, probably because she was more compliant with her demands. While I would argue and resist, Sophia would just go along with whatever Mom wanted, thinking it was normal family behavior. Mom's strategy was simple but cruel. Every morning, Sophia would start her day by drinking a 1,200-calorie mass gainer protein shake, the kind bodybuilders use to bulk up. Then she'd have a full breakfast of pancakes, bacon, and hash browns. For lunch, it would be 2 cheeseburgers and fries. Dinner was always massive portions of whatever Mom was serving, usually loaded with cheese and fried foods. The content Mom created was humiliating. She'd film Sophia rolling down hills in the yard, getting stuck in playground equipment, and doing Fat Girl Tries challenges before that was even a recognized format. I still remember the day Sophia's video, "Fat Kid Can't Fit Through McDonald's Playground," hit 750,000 views. Mom literally threw a party, bought Sophia a new iPhone, and took her shopping at the mall. I'm so proud of my little star," Mom would say, hugging Sophia tight while looking directly at me. Unlike some people in this family who just can't seem to make Mommy happy. Her words were like poison, designed to make me jealous and hurt, but instead they just made me feel sorry for Sophia. I could see her becoming more and more dependent on Mom's approval, more willing to do anything to keep those views coming in. The money started pouring in. Sponsorship deals with fast food companies, clothing brands that made plus-size kids' clothes, and even a furniture company that made sturdy chairs for bigger kids. Sophia became the primary breadwinner for our family by age 14, pulling in about $8,000 per month from various revenue streams. Mom quit her job at the Dollar General and became Sophia's full-time manager. Meanwhile, I was essentially ignored, unless Mom needed me as a prop in Sophia's videos. I was always cast as the skinny, jealous sister who was bitter that Sophia got all the attention. Sometimes Mom would make me be mean to Sophia on camera, creating fake drama for views. It made me sick, but I was just a kid. What choice did I have? As I got older and started understanding how wrong this all was, I began refusing to participate. I started eating normal portions at dinner, worked out in secret, and lost the weight Mom had forced on me. By 14, I was back to a healthy 110 pounds, which infuriated my mother. "Look at Miss Perfect over there," she'd say sarcastically whenever I'd politely decline seconds at dinner. "Too good to be part of this family's success." She'd then turn to Sophia and add, "At least I have one daughter who appreciates everything I do for her." I tried desperately to help Sophia see what was happening. "I'm really full. I think I'll stop eating now," I'd announce loudly at family dinners, hoping it would click for her. Or I'd go into her room and talk about how great it felt to have energy and not feel sluggish all the time. But Sophia was so brainwashed by then, she'd just tell me I was being jealous and that Mom was helping her build a career. By 2018, when Sophia was 16, the obesity content trend was dying out. The YouTube algorithm was favoring different types of content, and people were becoming more aware of the ethical issues around exploiting overweight children for entertainment. Mom watched their monthly income drop from $8,000 to $3,000, then down to $500. She was panicking. That's when Mom discovered the fitness and beauty transformation community on social media. Influencers like James Charles and the Dolan twins were massive, and there was this whole subculture around glow-ups and dramatic makeovers. Mom saw this as Sophia's next chapter. I'll never forget the day Mom came home with brochures from a plastic surgery clinic in Nashville. She was practically vibrating with excitement as she spread them across our kitchen table. "Look, Sophia, we can transform you into the most beautiful girl on the internet. Think of the comeback story, from fat to fabulous." Sophia's first procedure was a tummy tuck, performed by Dr. Richards at Nashville Cosmetic Surgery Center. She was only 16, but Mom had somehow convinced the doctor that it was medically necessary due to loose skin from rapid weight loss, except Sophia hadn't actually lost the weight yet. Mom threw an actual party that night, inviting all our neighbors and relatives to celebrate Sophia's new beginning. Over the next 6 months, Sophia became Mom's personal Barbie doll project. Platinum blonde hair extensions that cost $800 every 8 weeks. Lip fillers that made her look like she was having an allergic reaction. Liposuction on her arms, thighs, and back. A breast augmentation that took her from an A cup to a DD. The surgeries were happening so fast that Sophia barely had time to heal between procedures. The transformation content performed even better than the obesity videos had. My Daughter's Extreme Makeover, Part 7, got 1.2 million views. Brands were lining up to sponsor Sophia's journey. Fashion Nova sent free clothes. Sephora shipped makeup palettes. Mom was making more money than ever before. But I was 15 now and hadn't received any attention from my family in over 2 years. Despite knowing how wrong it all was, I craved my mother's approval so desperately that I agreed to get lip fillers for my 16th birthday. I also started restricting my food intake to just 1 meal a day, hoping it would make me skinny enough for Mom to notice me. She thanked me for finally participating in the family business, but that was it. Sophia had a loyal fan base of teenage girls who idolized her transformation, and millions of older men who left disturbing comments about her body. To the world, I would always just be Sophia's sister. The worst part was losing my actual sister. Anytime I tried to have a normal conversation with Sophia, she would immediately start trying to convince me to get more surgery, lose more weight, and become an influencer too. She'd show me her bank account balance and talk about all the free stuff she got. She couldn't understand why I wasn't jumping at the opportunity. Boys at school would approach me constantly, but never because they were actually interested in me. "Hey, your sister turned down my DM. Think you could put in a good word?" Or, "Can you get me into one of her parties?" I started making friends with people who didn't even know I had a sister, but inevitably someone would recognize me, and then suddenly they'd want to hang out all the time, hoping to get featured in Sophia's content. When I turned 18 in 2020, I finally escaped. I got accepted to Western Kentucky University on a partial academic scholarship and moved to Bowling Green, about 90 minutes away from home. I changed all my social media accounts to use my middle name, Claire, instead of my first name, and told people I was from Nashville instead of Louisville. For the first time in years, I could just be a normal college student. I learned about intuitive eating in a psychology class and finally developed a healthy relationship with food. I joined the hiking club and made friends who liked me for my personality, not my social media connections. I saw a campus counselor who helped me understand that what my family had been doing wasn't normal or healthy. For 3 years, I lived in blissful ignorance of what was happening back home. I'd occasionally check Sophia's social media accounts. She was up to 2.8 million Instagram followers and 1.1 million YouTube subscribers by 2023. Her content had evolved into lifestyle vlogs, beauty tutorials, and sponsored posts. She seemed happy and successful, but then, in November 2023, she just stopped posting. Her last Instagram post was from November 15th, a sponsored post for some teeth whitening kit. Her YouTube channel hadn't been updated in 3 weeks. This was bizarre because Sophia posted multiple times daily and had never taken a break longer than 2 or 3 days. At first, I thought maybe she was just taking a vacation or dealing with some kind of drama with a boyfriend. But the comments on her posts were getting concerning. "Are you okay? Why haven't you posted? Your mom said on her stories that you're focusing on your health. What does that mean?" My curiosity got the better of me. For Thanksgiving 2023, I decided to go home for the first time since starting college. I told myself I just wanted to check on Sophia and maybe try to rebuild our relationship now that we were both adults. The moment my mom opened the trailer door, she looked me up and down with disgust. "Jesus Christ, Claire! Have you completely given up on yourself? You look like a soccer mom." This was her reaction to me being a healthy weight and wearing normal clothes instead of Instagram-worthy outfits. I pushed past her without responding and called out for Sophia. That's when I heard it. The unmistakable sound of someone throwing up, coming from the bathroom down the hall. I rushed to the bathroom and found the door locked. "Sophia, are you okay?" I called through the door. The vomiting sound stopped, but I could hear crying. After a few minutes, the door opened, and I barely recognized the person standing there. Sophia looked like a skeleton. Her face was gaunt, her eyes were sunken in, and her skin had this grayish, unhealthy pallor. She'd lost at least 60 pounds since her last photos, but in the worst possible way. Her hair was thin and brittle, and when she smiled at me, I could see that her teeth had erosion marks from frequent vomiting. "Hey, Claire," she said weakly, as if nothing was wrong. "Mom said you were coming home." I instinctively reached out to hug her, and I was shocked by how light she felt. She'd always been bigger than me, but now I could feel her ribs through her oversized hoodie. "Sophia, what's going on? Are you sick?" Before she could answer, my mom appeared behind us. "She's getting back to her natural weight," Mom said proudly. "The transformation content wasn't working anymore, so we're pivoting to wellness and clean eating. Sophia's going to inspire young women to embrace their natural bodies." I stared at my mother in disbelief. Sophia's natural body was being achieved through starvation and purging, and Mom was calling it wellness content. The hypocrisy was staggering. This was the same woman who had force-fed Sophia thousands of extra calories per day just a few years earlier. I helped Sophia back to her room, and that's when I saw the true extent of the madness. Her walls were covered with sticky notes containing calorie counts, meal plans, and workout schedules. There was a scale in the corner that measured weight down to the 10th of a pound. Her closet was full of size UR0 and size XS clothes, with the tags still on them. Clothes that were clearly too small for even her current, dangerously underweight frame. On her desk was a chart tracking her measurements: waist, hips, thighs, arms, with angry red circles around numbers that were apparently still too high. Her goal weight was written in large red letters: 95 pounds. For reference, Sophia was 5'2". A healthy weight for her height would be between 115 and 140 pounds. I tried to talk to Sophia alone, but Mom kept hovering around us like a vulture. When I finally got a private moment, I whispered that she needed help and that this wasn't healthy. Sophia just stared at the wall and mumbled something about needing to reach her goal weight before she could start posting again. "What's your goal weight?" I asked, though I'd already seen it written on the chart. 95 pounds, she said matter-of-factly. "Mom says that's what I weighed when I was 12, before I got fat." The fans want to see the real me. My heart dropped into my stomach. She wanted to weigh what she had weighed as a 12-year-old child. This wasn't about health or wellness. This was about trying to literally reverse puberty and turn back into a child to satisfy the sick fantasies of internet strangers. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Sophia's hollow eyes and the way she'd talked about her body like it was a business product that needed to be optimized. I called my roommate Jenny, who was majoring in psychology, and described what I'd seen. "Claire, this is serious," she told me. "Your sister is showing classic signs of an eating disorder, but it sounds like it's being orchestrated by your mom. This could kill her if it continues." I knew Jenny was right, but I also knew Mom would never voluntarily get Sophia help. In Mom's mind, Sophia was finally being disciplined, and taking her career seriously. Any suggestion that there was a problem would be met with accusations that I was jealous or trying to sabotage Sophia's success. I decided to document everything I could see. The next morning, while Mom was out editing content in her office, the spare bedroom, I snuck around the house with my phone camera. I photographed the meal plans, the weight charts, the tiny clothes, and the bathroom scale. In Sophia's room, I found journals where she'd been documenting her daily calories, weight fluctuations, and workout routines. The entries were heartbreaking. Day 23. Had 500 calories today, but gained 0.2 pounds. Mom says I need to try harder. Cut dinner in half tomorrow. Day 31. Made it through the whole day on just celery and Diet Coke. Mom says I look better already. Only 8 more pounds to goal weight. I also discovered that Mom had complete control over all of Sophia's social media accounts and had been posting old photos and pre-written content to make it look like Sophia was still active online. Sophia had no access to her own accounts and no control over her public image. The most disturbing discovery was in Mom's room. I found contracts that Sophia had signed, giving Mom complete legal control over her earnings, her image rights, and even her medical decisions until she turned 25. These contracts had been signed when Sophia was just 16, and clearly didn't understand what she was agreeing to. I also found Mom's content calendar for 2024, which included planned storylines like my daughter's extreme weight loss journey, from fat to fit, the ultimate transformation, and how we overcame food addiction as a family. Mom was literally planning to monetize Sophia's eating disorder. I managed to slip Sophia my new phone number on a piece of paper before leaving that weekend, telling her to text me if she ever needed anything. I also took photos of all the evidence I'd found: the journals, contracts, meal plans, and content calendar. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it all, but I knew I needed proof of what was happening. Back at college, I couldn't focus on anything. My grades started slipping because all I could think about was Sophia wasting away in that trailer. My friend Jenny suggested I call Adult Protective Services, but Sophia was 21 now, technically old enough to make her own decisions, even if those decisions were being controlled and manipulated by our mother. 3 weeks later, at 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday, I got a text from an unknown number. "Help me, can't do this anymore. Think I'm dying." I immediately called the number, but no one answered. I tried again and again throughout the night, but the calls went straight to voicemail. At 6 a.m., I packed a bag and started the 2-hour drive back to Louisville, calling the number every 15 minutes. I arrived at the trailer around 8 a.m. The yard looked worse than ever: overgrown grass, empty liquor bottles scattered around, and garbage overflowing from several trash cans. Mom had clearly stopped maintaining any pretense of the perfect lifestyle she portrayed online. I parked down the road and crept around to the back of the house where our bedroom windows were. Sophia's room was dark, but I could see the faint glow of a phone screen. I picked up some small rocks and threw them at her window, something we used to do as kids when we wanted to talk without Mom knowing. After a few minutes, Sophia's face appeared at the window. She looked even worse than she had 3 weeks earlier. Her cheekbones were sharp enough to cut glass, and her eyes looked enormous in her skeletal face. She held up one finger to tell me to wait, then disappeared. 5 minutes later, she slipped out the back door wearing pajamas that looked like they were meant for a 12-year-old. When I hugged her, she felt like she might snap in half. "What happened?" I whispered. "I got your text." Sophia looked nervously back at the trailer, then told me the story. Mom had discovered that Sophia had been hiding small amounts of food in her room instead of eating the minimal meals she was supposed to have. As punishment, Mom had locked her in the bathroom for an entire day with nothing but laxatives and diet pills. She'd taken Sophia's phone away after that, but Sophia had managed to use Mom's phone while Mom was passed out drunk to send me the text. I can't leave," Sophia whispered when I begged her to come with me right then. "All the money is in accounts with Mom's name on them. She says if I leave, she'll tell everyone I'm a drug addict and ruin my reputation. She'll make sure no one ever believes my side of the story." I realized Mom had been planning for this possibility. She'd structured everything to make sure Sophia was completely dependent on her, financially and reputationally. Even if Sophia wanted to leave, she had no resources and no public platform to tell her side of the story. We heard movement inside the trailer, and Sophia's eyes went wide with terror. She quickly hugged me and ran back inside before I could stop her. I drove to the nearest Holiday Inn and got a room. I needed time to think and plan. This wasn't something I could handle alone, and I couldn't just kidnap my adult sister, even if it was for her own good. I called Jenny for advice, and she suggested I contact the National Eating Disorders Association hotline for guidance. The counselor I spoke with confirmed that what I was describing constituted abuse, but since Sophia was an adult, any help would have to be voluntary on her part. The counselor did give me some useful information about financial exploitation laws and suggested I document everything I could about Mom's control over Sophia's money and medical decisions. She also recommended I contact a lawyer who specialized in elder abuse cases, as the same laws that protect elderly people from financial exploitation sometimes apply to adults with eating disorders. I decided to stay in Louisville for a few days to gather more evidence and try to convince Sophia to accept help. I called my professors and explained that I had a family emergency. Most of them were understanding and gave me extensions on my assignments. Over the next several days, I made multiple trips back to the trailer when I knew Mom would be out. Mom always went to the grocery store on Tuesday mornings, to her sister's house on Thursday evenings, and to the liquor store every Saturday afternoon. Some habits never change. During these visits, I helped Sophia document everything Mom was doing to her. We made copies of the contracts Mom had forced her to sign, photographed her meal restriction charts, and recorded videos of Sophia explaining what her daily life was like. The videos were hard to watch. Sophia described being forced to weigh herself 5 times per day and being punished if her weight went up even by 0.1 pounds. She was only allowed to eat 600 calories per day, and Mom would check her plates to make sure she'd finished exactly what she was supposed to eat. No more, no less. She was required to exercise for 2 hours every morning and 1 hour every evening, regardless of how weak she felt. Most disturbing of all, Mom had been giving Sophia sleeping pills every night to help with hunger pains, but really to prevent her from getting up and eating food. Sophia had become dependent on them and couldn't sleep without taking increasingly larger doses. I also discovered that Mom had been filming Sophia during her most vulnerable moments, weighing herself, exercising while exhausted, crying after stepping on the scale, and saving this footage for future content. She had hundreds of hours of material showing Sophia at her lowest points, all ready to be edited into inspirational transformation content. During one of my visits, I brought Sophia a turkey sandwich and watched her eat it. It took her over an hour to finish what would normally be a 10-minute meal. She took tiny bites, chewed each one for minutes, and kept apologizing for being greedy and eating too fast. Mom says hunger is just weakness leaving the body, Sophia told me. She says if I can overcome hunger, I can overcome anything. I wanted to scream. Mom had weaponized basic human needs and turned them into moral failings. She'd convinced Sophia that starving herself was a sign of strength and discipline rather than self-destruction. We came up with a communication plan. I would leave notes for Sophia in our old childhood hiding spot, a loose floorboard under her bed. She would respond when she could, and we'd coordinate the best time for her to escape. I also gave Sophia a prepaid phone that I'd bought at a gas station, which she hid inside an old stuffed animal we'd shared as kids. Over the next few weeks, we exchanged dozens of notes. Sometimes Sophia would write about small victories. She'd managed to eat an extra piece of fruit, or she'd refused to take the sleeping pills one night. Other times, her notes were desperate and scared. Mom was drinking more heavily and becoming increasingly erratic, sometimes waking Sophia up at 3 a.m. for surprise weigh-ins or forcing her to do jumping jacks until she collapsed. I was driving back and forth between Louisville and Bowling Green constantly, spending all my money on gas and hotel rooms. My roommate Jenny started a GoFundMe to help with expenses, telling our friends that I was dealing with a family medical emergency. The kindness of people who barely knew me was overwhelming. Then one day, in January 2024, I went to check our hiding spot and found nothing. No new note from Sophia, and all the old notes were gone. I tried calling the prepaid phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I waited outside for hours, but Sophia never appeared at her window. I decided I had to confront Mom directly. I knocked on the front door, heart pounding. Mom opened it with a fake smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Well, well, well. If it isn't my prodigal daughter," she said sarcastically. "What brings you back to our humble home?" I asked to see Sophia, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom's smile got even wider. Never a good sign with her. "Sophia is in a very delicate phase of her transformation right now," Mom said. "She can't be disturbed by outside influences. But don't worry, she's doing amazing. Look." Mom pulled out her phone and showed me Sophia's Instagram story from just 30 minutes earlier. It was a boomerang video of someone doing jumping jacks in workout clothes, with text that said, "Morning motivation, almost to my goal weight." But something was off about the video. The person was wearing a hoodie that covered their face, and the body looked too small even for Sophia's current weight. I suspected Mom was either using old footage or having someone else stand in for Sophia. I pushed past Mom into the trailer, calling Sophia's name. Mom grabbed my arm, her fingernails digging into my skin. "You're ruining everything!" she hissed. "Sophia was finally making progress until you started filling her head with your jealous nonsense." That's when I noticed the bathroom door had a new lock on it, a deadbolt that could only be opened from the outside. My blood ran cold as I realized Mom was literally locking Sophia in the bathroom. I ran to the bathroom door and yanked at the deadbolt until it opened. Sophia was sitting on the floor in the corner, conscious but barely responsive. There was vomit in the toilet, empty laxative packages scattered around, and several diet pill bottles on the counter. She looked up at me with glassy, unfocused eyes and whispered, "I gained 3 ounces yesterday. Had to fix it." I knelt down next to her and realized she was dangerously dehydrated. Her lips were cracked, her skin felt papery, and when I pinched her hand, the skin stayed tented for several seconds before slowly settling back. "Sophia, we're leaving right now," I said firmly, helping her stand. She was so weak that she couldn't support her own weight. Mom appeared in the doorway, holding her phone and recording everything. "Look at this family drama, you guys," she said to the camera in her fake, cheerful influencer voice. "My ungrateful daughter thinks she knows better than a mother who's dedicated her entire life to her children's success." I grabbed Sophia's hand and pushed past Mom, knocking the phone out of her grasp. Mom lunged for the phone, which gave us just enough time to get out the front door. But Sophia was so weak she could barely walk, so I essentially had to carry her to my car. Mom followed us outside, still trying to record with her cracked phone and screaming about how I was kidnapping Sophia and destroying her career. "She's nothing without me," Mom yelled. "I made her everything she is. You're just jealous that you could never be successful like her." I could see Sophia flinch at every word, even in her weakened state. Years of psychological manipulation don't disappear just because you physically remove someone from the situation. I drove straight to University of Louisville Hospital. Sophia protested weakly, saying she was fine and that Mom would be worried, but I wasn't taking any chances. In the emergency room, the triage nurse took one look at Sophia and immediately rushed her into a treatment room. The ER doctor, Dr. Martinez, was incredibly kind, but also clearly alarmed by Sophia's condition. Her heart rate was dangerously low at 45 BPM, her blood pressure was 85/50, and she was severely dehydrated. Her blood work showed dangerously low levels of potassium, sodium, and other essential electrolytes. "How long has she been restricting food?" Dr. Martinez asked me privately. "About 6 months that I know of," I told her. "But it might be longer." Dr. Martinez shook her head grimly. "Her body is starting to shut down. If you'd waited even a few more days to bring her in, she might not have survived." While Sophia was being stabilized, I sat in the waiting room making phone calls. I contacted the lawyer that the eating disorder hotline had recommended, a woman named Patricia Williams, who specialized in financial exploitation cases. I also called Western Kentucky University to explain that I'd be taking medical leave to care for my sister. Mom showed up at the hospital about 3 hours later, putting on her concerned mother performance for the hospital staff. She tried to take control of Sophia's treatment, claiming that Sophia was confused and being dramatic, and that I was manipulating the situation. But I'd already explained the situation to Dr. Martinez and shown her photos of Sophia's condition at home. The hospital placed a psychiatric hold on Sophia and restricted Mom's access to her room. Mom threw a complete fit in the lobby, threatening to sue everyone and screaming about her rights as Sophia's mother, until security escorted her out. Sophia ended up staying in the hospital for 3 weeks. The doctors were shocked by her condition. She had the bone density of a 65-year-old woman. Her heart muscle was weakened from malnutrition, and her liver was showing early signs of damage from all the diet pills and laxatives. During those 3 weeks, I practically lived at the hospital. I only left to attend my most important classes and to meet with Patricia Williams, the lawyer. Patricia was appalled when I showed her the contracts Mom had forced Sophia to sign and the evidence of financial exploitation. "Your mother has stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars from your sister," Patricia told me. "These contracts are completely unenforceable. You can't sign away your basic human rights, even as an adult." We discovered that Mom had opened multiple credit cards in Sophia's name and racked up over $50,000 in debt. She'd also been skimming money from Sophia's sponsorship deals, taking 80% instead of the industry-standard 15-20% management fee. Patricia helped us file charges for financial abuse, identity theft, and endangering the welfare of an adult. We also applied for emergency conservatorship to protect Sophia's remaining assets while she recovered. Mom didn't go down without a fight. She started posting on Sophia's social media accounts, claiming that Sophia was having a mental breakdown and that I was manipulating her against her own family. She even posted old videos of us as kids, edited to make it look like I'd always been jealous and controlling. Many of Sophia's followers believed Mom's story at first. The comment sections were full of people saying I was probably jealous of Sophia's success and trying to destroy her career. Mom was playing the victim perfectly, claiming she was just a devoted mother who'd sacrificed everything for her daughter's dreams. One day, while Sophia was sleeping in her hospital bed, I checked her social media and saw that Mom had posted a heartfelt message supposedly from Sophia, claiming she was being held against her will and asking her fans to help rescue her from the hospital. The post included the hospital's name and room number. I immediately alerted hospital security and had Sophia moved to a different floor with enhanced security measures. But it was too late. Several of Sophia's more obsessive fans had already shown up demanding to see her. The hospital had to call the police to escort them out. The stress of all this was taking a serious toll on Sophia's recovery. She had a panic attack so severe that the doctors had to sedate her. Watching her struggle to breathe while hooked up to monitors and IVs, I felt a rage building inside me, unlike anything I'd ever experienced. That night, I made a decision. With Sophia's permission, I created a new social media account that wasn't connected to any of her existing profiles. I posted a single, unedited video of Sophia in her hospital bed, explaining in her own words what had been happening to her. In the video, Sophia showed her feeding tube, the bruises on her arms from repeated blood draws because her veins kept collapsing, and the heart monitor she had to wear constantly. Her voice was weak and shaky, but her message was clear. "Hi everyone. This is really me, not my mom posting for me. I wanted you to know that I've been really sick, and my mom has been controlling every aspect of my life for years. She's the one who's been posting on my accounts and responding to your messages. I've been starving myself because she convinced me that you wouldn't love me if I wasn't perfect. But I almost died, and I realize now that none of this was worth it. Please respect my privacy while I focus on getting healthy. And please don't believe anything my mom posts claiming to be from me." I posted the video with the caption, "The truth about what's been happening to Sophia. Please share this so people know what's really going on. Sophia deserves better. Stop the exploitation." The video went viral within hours. It was reshared by major influencer drama accounts, picked up by news outlets, and viewed over 2 million times in the first day. People who had followed Sophia for years were horrified to see the truth behind her perfect content. Mom tried damage control, posting frantic responses claiming the video was fake or that I had somehow manipulated Sophia into lying. But too many people could see the truth in Sophia's hollow eyes and skeletal frame. The evidence was undeniable. Former neighbors started coming forward with stories about seeing Mom force-feed Sophia as a child, then later witnessing her verbally abuse Sophia about her weight. One of Mom's ex-boyfriends, someone named Derek, shared screenshots of text messages where Mom had bragged about making bank off these pathetic internet losers who worship my daughter. The tide of public opinion turned quickly and decisively. Mom's own social media followers turned against her, flooding her comments with accusations and demands for accountability. Brands that had worked with Sophia issued statements distancing themselves from the situation and donating money to eating disorder charities. Several major YouTubers made videos about Sophia's situation, raising awareness about the exploitation of child influencers and family vloggers. The hashtags #ProtectSophia started trending, with people sharing resources for eating disorder recovery and calling for better protection for young content creators. Mom showed up at the hospital again, this time with a lawyer of her own. They demanded access to Sophia, claiming Mom still had legal authority as Sophia's manager. But Patricia had already filed emergency paperwork to terminate all contracts between them, and the hospital refused to let Mom anywhere near Sophia's room. That night, our neighbor Mrs. Henderson called me to say that Mom was at the trailer, destroying things in a drunken rage. She'd apparently gone on a rampage after being denied access to Sophia, smashing furniture and burning photos. Mrs. Henderson was worried Mom might burn down the whole trailer park. I called the police, something I'd been afraid to do for years because of Mom's threats about what would happen if authorities got involved. They found Mom passed out among the destruction, surrounded by empty vodka bottles. She was arrested for public intoxication and destruction of property. While Mom was dealing with her legal troubles, Sophia was slowly but steadily improving. The hospital had a specialized eating disorder unit, and Dr. Sarah Chen, the nutritionist, created a careful refeeding plan to help Sophia's body readjust to regular food intake. Every meal was a struggle for Sophia. Years of food restriction and fear couldn't be overcome overnight. She would cry while eating a piece of toast, convinced that it would make her gain 10 pounds immediately. But she was trying, and that was what mattered. The therapist, Dr. Michael Thompson, helped Sophia understand how Mom had manipulated and abused her from such a young age. He explained that what she'd experienced was a form of Munchausen syndrome by proxy that had evolved into financial and psychological exploitation. Your mother created a problem so she could profit from solving it, Dr. Thompson explained. First, she made you gain weight. Then she made money from weight loss content. You were never a daughter to her. You were a business opportunity. This realization was devastating for Sophia. She'd spent her entire life trying to earn Mom's love and approval, not understanding that Mom was incapable of loving her as a person rather than as a product. I attended family therapy sessions with Sophia, where we worked through our shared trauma and the resentment that Mom had fostered between us. It was painful but necessary work. Sophia admitted she'd resented me for escaping while she remained trapped. I admitted I'd felt guilty for leaving her behind and not doing more to help her sooner. We cried together a lot during those sessions, mourning the childhood and sisterhood that Mom's exploitation had stolen from us. But we also started rebuilding our relationship on a foundation of honesty and mutual support, rather than competition for Mom's attention. After a month, Sophia was medically stable enough to be discharged. The question was where she would go. She couldn't return to the trailer, and my college apartment was too small for both of us long-term. That's when Mrs. Patterson, my old high school counselor, came through for us. She and her husband had a guest house attached to their home in St. Matthews, a suburb of Louisville, and they offered to let Sophia stay there rent-free while she focused on recovery. Mrs. Patterson had always suspected something was wrong with our home life, and she wanted to help however she could. The day Sophia moved in with the Pattersons, Mom showed up drunk at 11 a.m., screaming in their front yard about ungrateful children and how she'd given up everything for Sophia's career. Mrs. Patterson calmly called the police while I stayed inside with Sophia, who was having a panic attack at the sound of Mom's voice. Mom was arrested for violating the restraining order we'd obtained after the hospital incidents. As the police car drove away with her in the back seat, I felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, sadness, and a strange kind of emptiness where my anger used to be. The legal battle continued for months. Patricia Williams was incredibly thorough in documenting all of Mom's crimes: the financial exploitation, the identity theft, the medical neglect, and the psychological abuse. Mom had hidden money in various accounts and spent most of Sophia's earnings on plastic surgery for herself, luxury items, and alcohol. What should have been a substantial nest egg for Sophia, easily over $300,000 in total earnings, was mostly gone. But there was some justice to be found. Several brands that had worked with Sophia offered settlement payments when they learned about the exploitation, not wanting to be associated with child abuse in any way. It wasn't the fortune Sophia should have had, but it was enough to pay for her ongoing medical care, therapy, and living expenses while she figured out what she wanted to do with her life. Sophia made the decision to completely leave social media behind. She deleted all her accounts, despite having millions of followers across various platforms. Some fans were upset and accused her of being ungrateful or dramatic, but most people understood after learning the full story. "I feel like I can finally breathe," Sophia told me after deleting her last account. "For the first time in my life, I don't have to perform for anyone." I transferred to the University of Louisville to be closer to Sophia during her recovery. I changed my major from business to social work with a focus on family trauma. Everything we'd been through had given me a clarity of purpose. I wanted to help other people escape abusive situations. Sophia started taking online classes through Jefferson Community College, working toward a degree in psychology. She wanted to specialize in helping young people who had been exploited by their families or in the entertainment industry. "I can't undo what happened to me," she told me one day while we were having lunch at a cafe near her therapist's office. "But maybe I can prevent it from happening to someone else." Mom was eventually sentenced to 4 years in prison for her crimes, followed by 5 years of probation. She would also be required to complete intensive psychiatric treatment and addiction counseling. The judge was particularly harsh in his sentencing, noting that parents are supposed to protect their children, not exploit them for financial gain. We didn't attend Mom's sentencing hearing. Instead, we went hiking at Cherokee Park with Mrs. Patterson and her golden retriever, Max. It was the first time I'd seen Sophia truly relaxed in years. When she slipped on a muddy trail and got dirt on her clothes, she laughed instead of panicking about her appearance, like Mom had trained her to do. 6 months after Mom's sentencing, I got a call from a documentary filmmaker named David Chen who'd been following Sophia's story. He wanted to interview us for a film about the exploitation of child influencers and family vloggers. At first, I was skeptical. We'd had enough of cameras and content creation to last several lifetimes, but David explained that his documentary would focus on the legal and ethical issues around family vlogging, not on sensationalizing our personal trauma. He wanted to help change laws to better protect children in the social media industry. Sophia and I talked it over for weeks. Dr. Thompson helped us think through the potential benefits and risks of participating. Eventually, we decided to do limited interviews with full control over how our stories were presented. The documentary, titled Logged Off: The Hidden Cost of Family Fame, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and sparked nationwide conversations about the need for better protections for child influencers. Several states introduced legislation requiring that a percentage of earnings from family vlogs be placed in protected trust accounts for the children featured in the content. Sophia became an unexpected advocate for these legal changes. She testified before the Kentucky State Legislature about her experiences and helped draft guidelines for social media companies to better identify and prevent the exploitation of minors. "I'm not trying to destroy family vlogging," she said in her testimony. "I just want to make sure that kids have protections and that parents can't treat their children like business assets." 1 year after her hospitalization, Sophia had gained back 30 healthy pounds and was thriving in her college classes. Her hair was shiny and thick again, and her smile finally reached her eyes. She started volunteering at an eating disorder treatment center, using her experiences to help other young people in recovery. I graduated with my social work degree and got a job with the Kentucky Department for Community-Based Services, working specifically with families involved in child exploitation cases. It was emotionally challenging work, but incredibly rewarding when we were able to remove a child from a harmful situation. 2 years later, Sophia met someone, a quiet guy named Tyler, who worked at the animal shelter where she volunteered. He'd never heard of her social media career and knew nothing about influencers or content creation. He just thought she was kind and funny and beautiful in a completely natural way. Watching Sophia fall in love with someone who valued her for her personality rather than her appearance was incredible. Tyler would bring her coffee during her volunteer shifts and listen to her talk about the psychology classes she was taking. He never once suggested she should get back into social media or asked about her famous past. "He sees me," Sophia told me one evening when we were having dinner together. "Not my body, not my potential for content, just me." I started dating too, a fellow social worker named Marcus, who understood the importance of my work and never made me feel bad for prioritizing my career and my sister's recovery. We moved in together after a year, creating the kind of stable, loving household that Sophia and I had never experienced as children. 3 years after Mom's sentencing, we received a letter from her through Patricia Williams. She was still in prison, but had completed several treatment programs and addiction counseling. In the letter, she said she was sorry for what she'd done, and that she was working to understand why she'd hurt us. She asked if we would consider visiting her or writing back. She claimed to be a different person now and wanted a chance to make amends. Sophia and I discussed it extensively with our therapists. Dr. Thompson advised caution, reminding us that we didn't owe Mom forgiveness or contact just because she'd completed some prison programs. People with narcissistic personality disorders can be very convincing when they want something, he warned. And what she wants right now is probably to feel better about herself by getting your forgiveness. We decided not to respond to the letter. Maybe someday we would be ready to have that conversation, but not yet. We were still building our foundation of safety and healing. Mom's need for redemption didn't override our need for peace. Instead of focusing on Mom, we celebrated our progress. Sophia had maintained a healthy weight for over a year and hadn't engaged in any eating disorder behaviors during that time. She was excelling in her psychology program and had been accepted into the University of Louisville's graduate program in clinical mental health counseling. I had been promoted to a supervisory role at work and was being considered for a position with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, working specifically on cases involving online exploitation of minors. 5 years after Sophia's hospitalization, she graduated with her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. Her thesis was on family-perpetrated exploitation of children in digital media, and it was later published in the Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry. At her graduation party, Mrs. Patterson gave a speech that made everyone cry. "I watched these girls go from broken children to strong, compassionate women who are using their pain to help others heal. That kind of transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens because they chose to do the hard work of recovery and growth every single day." Sophia opened her own practice specializing in eating disorders and family trauma. Her office walls were covered with art she'd created during her recovery, abstract pieces that showed her journey from darkness to light. She refused to do any media interviews or publicity for her practice, wanting her work to speak for itself. I accepted the position with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and moved to Alexandria, Virginia. My work there involved investigating cases where parents were exploiting their children online for financial gain, situations remarkably similar to what Sophia and I had experienced. One of my first cases involved a family in Ohio, where the mother was forcing her 8-year-old daughter to perform in inappropriate costumes for a YouTube channel with over 500,000 subscribers. Working with local authorities and social media platforms, we were able to remove the child from the home and shut down the exploitative content. "This is exactly why I do this work," I told Marcus one evening after a particularly difficult case. "Every child we save is a victory against people like my mother." Tyler proposed to Sophia on the anniversary of her hospital discharge, not because the date was significant in a romantic way, but because it represented her rebirth as a free person. She said yes, and they planned a small, intimate wedding with only the people who had supported them through the hardest times. At their wedding, Sophia's maid of honor speech was simple but powerful. 5 years ago, I didn't think I would live to see 22. Today, I'm 26. Healthy, loved, and surrounded by people who value me for who I am, not what I can do for them. Recovery isn't a destination. It's a choice you make every day. And every day, I choose to keep living. It's been 7 years now since I found Sophia in that bathroom, and our lives look nothing like what they were in that trailer in Kentucky. Sophia and Tyler have been married for 2 years and are talking about adopting children who've been removed from exploitative situations. She wants to give kids the kind of safe, loving home we never had. I married Marcus, and we have a daughter named Hope, a name we chose very deliberately. We're raising her with complete privacy, no social media presence, and an understanding that her worth has nothing to do with other people's opinions or attention. Mom was released from prison 2 years ago and has tried to contact us multiple times through various means. She's been blocked on every platform and had her letters returned unopened. Our lawyer has made it clear that any further attempts at contact will result in renewed restraining orders. Sophia's case became a landmark in family exploitation law. The Sophia Protection Act was passed in Kentucky in 2027, requiring that 50% of all earnings from family content featuring minors be placed in protected trust accounts that parents cannot access. Similar laws have been enacted in 15 other states. We've both been interviewed for several documentaries and research projects about child exploitation in social media, always with the goal of education and prevention rather than sensationalism. Sophia has spoken at conferences for mental health professionals, and I've trained law enforcement agencies across the country on recognizing signs of familial exploitation. The most important thing we've learned is that healing is possible, but it takes time, professional help, and a lot of hard work. There's no quick fix for the kind of trauma that comes from being exploited by the people who are supposed to love and protect you. But there's also incredible strength that comes from surviving something like that. Sophia and I have an unbreakable bond now, forged not by shared trauma, but by our mutual commitment to building better lives for ourselves and helping other people do the same. Sometimes people ask if we regret not speaking out sooner or wish things had been different. The answer is complicated. Of course, we wish we'd had normal, loving childhoods, but we can't change the past, and dwelling on what if doesn't help anyone. What we can do is use our experiences to create positive change, support other survivors, and build the kind of family we always should have had. And that feels like the best possible outcome from a situation that could easily have ended in tragedy. Today, Sophia is healthy, successful, and genuinely happy. I'm doing work that matters and building a family based on love rather than exploitation. We've both learned to set boundaries, trust our instincts, and value our privacy. We've also learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who support you, believe in you, and want you to succeed without getting anything in return. Mrs. Patterson, Dr. Thompson, Patricia Williams, Tyler, Marcus, and so many others became our chosen family when our biological family failed us. The internet never forgets, and there are still videos of our childhood exploitation floating around on various platforms. But those videos no longer define us. We've reclaimed our narrative and built lives that belong to us, not to an audience or a parent's ambitions. If you're reading this and recognizing similarities to your own situation, please know that help is available. Contact the National Eating Disorders Association, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or local authorities if you're being exploited or abused. You deserve better than being treated as a commodity or a source of income. And if you're a parent creating content featuring your children, please consider the long-term impact on their mental health, privacy, and autonomy. Ask yourself, are you doing this for them or for yourself? Because children deserve to have childhoods that belong to them, not to the internet. Our story had a happy ending, but that's not guaranteed for everyone in similar situations. The sooner you get help, the better your chances of recovery and building a life that's truly your own. 7 years later, we're not just survivors, we're thrivers. And that's the legacy we want to leave, that it's possible to heal, grow, and use your pain to help others, no matter how dark things might seem in the moment. The girl who was once the product in someone else's business plan is now a licensed therapist, helping other people heal from similar trauma. The sister who felt helpless and guilty for years is now fighting to protect vulnerable children on a national level. We turned our greatest trauma into our greatest purpose, and we couldn't be more proud of how far we've come.